Hi, everyone. Welcome to Morning Matcha. I'm so excited about today's guests. I'm here with Julie Sawaya and Ryan Woodbury, and they're the co-founders of Needed, which is a thoughtful nutrition company for mamas and mamas-to-be. Hi, ladies.
Hi, thanks so much for having us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for being here and hanging out with my son for a little while before we got started.
He's adorable.
Crawling all over the place. So cute.
Thank you. So how does someone get into this space, and how did you two meet? I'm so curious how someone ends up creating a wonderful, trusted, nutrition company for women. I love what you guys are doing. I love that it's really right now concentrated on omega-3s. I think that's such an important thing. So I'm really excited to learn more about omega-3s in general with you guys, but I'm really curious how you met and how the company was founded.
In a lot of ways we started it because we needed it ourselves. And we met as next door neighbors in business school.
Wow.
And I think
Where?
at Stanford
Cool.
Business School in the dorms our first year. And I think Needed really grew organically as two next door neighbors sharing recipes and kind of going through a little bit of our own nutrition and fertility journey in the lead up to thinking about starting families. And I think we were both very surprised to find through some extensive nutritional testing that we were doing that we were both deficient in omega-3. And we had both been sort of longtime nutrition nerds, very interested in the space, spent a lot of time looking at recipes, reading scientific journals, sourcing food, and I think it just was a moment of enormous surprise that started with that question and digging into very quickly realizing we weren't alone in that need.
Yeah. And I think, as Ryan mentioned, we both prioritize food, and that is our perspective, that food is the first line of defense for nutrition, and there's no substitute for a good diet. But the reality is that most women aren't getting enough from diet alone for a number of reasons, the way our food is grown and the toxin exposure that we're all faced with from just our general environment. It raises nutritional needs, and this is especially true during the stage of life when you're starting a family and nourishing not only yourself but a baby. And so really came to the realization that food wasn't meeting our needs. We weren't alone. Up to 95% of women don't meet their need for omega-3 from diet alone. And the existing options from our perspective were just unacceptable. If you've ever taken a big fish oil pill, you know that they can be difficult to take. A lot of them are rancid. They're not great for the environment. And so we set out to fundamentally redesign what would a supplement look like, and how do you make supplements a lot more like food. And so the first product that we started with was an omega-3 sourced from algae that's sustainably grown in a controlled environment, so you don't have that toxic exposure and heavy metals. It's designed in the same way that nature delivers omega-3 through breast milk, through something called liposomes, which are basically just a simple but also really elegant way of carrying nutrients and pairing them with things like choline. So omega-3 and choline and phospholipids are found together in nature. But when you extract nutrients from their natural context, like take fish oil from a piece of fish, you're leaving behind all of those helper nutrients. And so your body doesn't really know what to do with it when you take a big globule of oil in a supplement form. And in a simple way, what our product delivers is nutrition at a molecular level exactly as nature intended, and gives a woman all of the nutrients that she needs to really optimally put the omega-3 to use for both herself and for her baby. So that was kind of the starting place. I think we're like reluctant supplement founders. Neither of us set out to create a supplements company, but realized how important it was and that nobody else was doing it.
I know. Isn't that crazy? Nobody else was making a whole food omega-3 supplement. And you became fast friends in business school, and then you had the nutrition, um, the interest in nutrition, both of you. But where did the science come in? Like, how did you really learn to read the scientific journals? And their studies are difficult to read, and then put together. Okay, so we're separating the fish oil from all these other things that are really important. And obviously choline is really good for your brain. And I mean, it's like a whole food supplement. So how did that idea come to be?
One part of how did we learn is we didn't do it alone. But I think we both probably had just a personal interest in science and read journals, delved into science well before we even were starting this company. I was an environmental science major, for example, in undergrad, so spent a lot of time in that walk of life, digging into research. But really, I think we were hugely helped by probably two main partners. One, we do have a scientific team, a cohort of biochemists that we've partnered with, and they are the world's leading experts on liposomes and how do you effectively deliver fat-soluble nutrients to make them best used by the body. And then we work with a team of integrative practitioners of really how do you incorporate sort of the learnings from Western medicine, from Ayurveda, from naturopathic medicine to Chinese medicine, and get perspectives across the board, because we do believe a lot of progress in the health and wellness space and in the medical space will be sort of across those paradigms. And there's a lot of similarities between when you can draw them together at the root, the different philosophies. And we are by no means as expert as a lot of the people that we work with, but have spent the time to really dig in ourselves and to learn sort of the fundamental science, the fundamental biochemistry, and then get the feedback and opinions from those more expert than ourselves, because we really do want this to be trusted and respected, and it is, and used by sort of the leading researchers and scientists and practitioners in the space.
Yeah.
You've done a really good job. I mean, when you look at the brand, obviously, just in terms of a brand standpoint, it looks like trustworthy, but you've gone way farther than that, and you've put together such a great team. I'm curious, how do you curate that team of scientists? Like, how did you go about finding those people to work with? Is it something that was really helpful being at Stanford for, or was this after? When did like Needed really form, and were the scientists part, I'm assuming, of the process way beforehand?
So we landed on the idea for Needed and the concept of a nutrition company that's making science-backed consumer products and translating science to consumers in a way that they can understand it and not have to dig into the research papers that we love to spend our time doing. But most people, it's not how they would want to spend their time, or it's just a little bit overwhelming. And really, fortunately, Ryan actually met our existing team of scientific partners before business school. Their backgrounds started out of Caltech, and then they moved into the pharmaceutical space really successfully, translating this natural delivery system known as liposomes to deliver really important pharmaceutical solutions for more kind of chronic illnesses. And and then about 10 years ago, they left the pharmaceutical space and realized that their passion really was in helping to prevent diseases and to keep people well before they get to the point of needing a pharmaceutical product. So we were really fortunate to reconnect with them, spent a lot of time flying down to the greater LA area in business school our second year, getting to know them better. And I think just realized pretty quickly that we had such a strong mission alignment to make better products accessible to everyone, not just those that kind of go in through a health practitioner and have a prescription for it.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
and then, go ahead.
oh no. Well, I was just going to say I love that because I was telling you earlier I walked into my pediatrician's office and he had needed and I just thought that was so special and I mean I already knew about your brand but it made me think of him differently too even though I know he's holistic. I appreciated that and I think it's important. I'm really passionate about preventative care and I really think preventative care needs to be something that as a country we focus on more and we discuss more because right now preventative care is only for a specific group that can really afford it.
Yep.
And I think we're putting our health, at the end. It's not a priority right now. And that's why we end up needing healthcare for this system that we're in. It's really a reactive system. So obviously we need that. Like if I break my arm, I'm going to go to the hospital and I'm grateful for that. But what can we do beforehand? Maybe not in a broken arm situation, but something else.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've heard breast cancer rates can dramatically decrease if you have proper omega-3s. Is that correct? I mean, I don't know
I'm
if you
not
can say
familiar with
much,
that,
but
with that research in particular, but an area that we're really passionate about that I think there's many benefits of omega-3, but one of the really interesting areas that we're spending a lot of time exploring is in and around postnatal depletion and depression that can often accompany that, and looking at ways to holistically treat or prevent that condition from ever coming about. And obviously, most things in medicine or in nutrition are multifaceted, and as a company we don't believe that there's one solve for anything, and are not trying to tout our product as a miracle cure for depression or for anything that a woman goes through in that whole life stage, but it is one thing that you can do to support yourself and to
Exactly, yeah.
prevent to optimally set yourself up to be well, and have the best chance of avoiding any kind of depletion that can be prevented.
Yeah, I mean, you can think about it like nutrition in a lot of ways can be simplified down into the alphabet. If you don't have the letter B, you can't spell the word bear. So if you are missing that nutrition, there are kind of mechanisms and physiological functions in your body that can end up working. And, from the postpartum depression standpoint, there's a number of things that end up contributing to that. But we do know that omega-3, DHA specifically, like structurally makes up the neurotransmitter receptors in your brain that control your happiness and fear and anxiety responses. And I think digging into a little bit of that mechanistic work is exciting and interesting to us, just so how you can, I think, set yourself up for success as much as possible. And sort of to the point you're talking about before in terms of preventative medicine, I think there's even a shift beyond that we're hoping to push. And I think a lot of people supplement right now in order to prevent disease conditions. Like all supplements, RDAs, which are sort of the percentage numbers at the side of a supplement facts label, are based off of the minimum levels needed to avoid serious disease conditions, not based off of how do you make your body actually thrive and optimal,
Exactly.
and so you feel fully nourished. And I think we are really hoping to push the conversation even beyond prevention all the way to let's get you fully nourished and thriving and, seeing the effects emotionally and physiologically to that regard.
Yeah. And I think that's one area where there are practitioners, and it's not the case. My dad is actually, and most of my family is in the Western medicine space. And so kind of seen firsthand, as I think most of us have experienced, that most doctors don't get the nutrition training in med school that they really should. And therefore, nutrition's really not part of their toolkit. But there are some doctors, which is awesome that you found a pediatrician that have that holistic lens. They have the Western plus the more natural approach. And I think that is what, as a company, we are so excited about, is creating products that a practitioner who knows more than almost anybody else about what the body needs can recommend our products because they have the right dosages, they have the right nutrients, the ingredients are all sourced properly. And at the same time, if you're a mom living somewhere where you don't have access to an integrative pediatrician or OB-GYN or midwife, you can also buy the products directly from our website. And that from the very beginning was really important to us because as it stands today, most of the best supplements on the market are only available and accessible through a healthcare practitioner.
Yeah, I've noticed that. And I'm really glad that it's possible in this day and age to have a direct to consumer platform and share this information and educate people, anyone around the world. Are you guys only available in the US?
Right now we are, but certainly hope to be international someday.
So you guys actually just launched an at-home testing kit for anyone to be able to test their omega-3 levels, right?
Yeah, we're really actually excited that we just launched in partnership with Omega Quant, which is the leading omega-3 sort of testing lab and research arm, these at-home nutrient testing kits where you can actually do a simple finger prick to know where your omega-3 levels are. And I think we find it very important for folks to be able to see in reality what their needs are so that they can better tailor their nutrition needs to where they stand level-wise. And what's super interesting is, I think Julie had mentioned before, the research indicates that up to 95% of women of childbearing years are deficient in an omega-3. We wanted to sort of test that statistic in our own way. And this past fall, we partnered with Omega Quant to test about 250 women in the wellness space. And we found very similar results. 96% of them were deficient in omega-3 and about 41% were chronically deficient. And have seen that, sort of seeing that reality and seeing the numbers in the same way that we did a number of years ago with our own nutrition testing was just hugely motivating. And, this turning from just like, oh, it'd be nice to have higher levels to something, oh, wow, like I'm now motivated to bring my levels up and I feel the difference because of it. So we're thrilled to now offer that test for purchase, or if you start a subscription, you can get it for free at the start of your supplement subscription, which is exciting. And then, excited about other products on the horizon. We do have a full, complete prenatal in the works that we will be launching this spring. So we are excited to start with omega-3 and choline because those are three nutrients with the two types of omega-3, DHA and EPA, that are missing from most prenatals on the market. So there was the biggest gap in our first product in terms of women getting enough, but really are excited to move on to now offering a complete solution for women so they can get a fully nourishing sort of prenatal and postnatal to support them before, during, and after pregnancy, but really focused on it being that most supportive, that most nourishing prenatal on the market. For example, most of our practitioners, dose magnesium at around 400 milligrams. Most prenatals on the market, if you look around, only have about 40.
Much.
We're going to have that full 400 in the prenatal, and you'll see that sort of ingredient after ingredient of giving a sort of therapeutic grade, a practitioner grade product that is delicious and then accessible for purchase on our website versus only through a doctor for sale. And it'll have collagen and a whole host of other sort of supportive herbs too. So we're really excited about it.
That's so important. I took so much magnesium when I was pregnant, and I wish that it was all in one spot so I didn't have to take all these pills that made me nauseous.
Right. That's the goal, is that it's as easy to incorporate into your life as it is efficacious. That's really our product promise across everything that we do. And one of the reasons we love powder as a delivery mechanism for nutrition is that, and I don't know if we mentioned, but the prenatal will be a powder, is that you can include the best quality nutrients and the proper dosage, as Ryan mentioned, when you're delivering it in a powder. Otherwise, it would be a collection of probably 20 pills, which nobody wants to take, whether they're pregnant or not.
It's kind of funny, like actually the better quality nutrients are often bigger molecules, or like our omega-3 delivering omega-3, the DHA and EPA alone isn't enough. You really want it with the choline and the phospholipids that are in our product, and powder allows for that complete solution.
So with the prenatal protein, do you purchase that separate from the omega-3?
Yes.
And then you add them together in a smoothie or with your
Exactly.
overnight oats or whatever. You just can mix it in. I love doing that. Even when I take capsules that are in powder form, I like just removing them out of the capsule. And I mean, I don't know if that's the best way to take it depending on what it is that I'm doing, but I always try and just put it in a tonic or in a smoothie or something because it's just easier so that I don't have to digest all of those capsules.
Totally.
And it's often better absorbed that way too. Your body can more readily put it to work and doesn't have to break down the capsule to utilize it.
Yeah, it makes sense. But
And it can go well in smoothies, or you can roll it into little like protein bites or things like that if people want a warming alternative. And the prenatal will be sold in a big tub to cut down on packaging waste.
Yeah.
Our omega-3, we are sort of, there's huge benefits to single serve packets, but we are also kind of stuck with them. The advantage of it is our omega-3 is then protected. Omega-3s are super sensitive to oxidation, which causes them to go rancid. It's the problem with going to the grocery store and buying a big tub of fish oil pills is by the time you finish them, opening and closing the case so many times, those
They go
capsules will often
rancid.
go bad. And
Wow.
us keeping it in these single serve packets on top of the liposomal structure protects the omega-3 too from oxidation, but it guarantees you to have sort of the quality product that we want to deliver.
That makes so much sense. And another thing that I really love that you mentioned that we didn't chat about, you briefly went over it, but when you did your testing, it was on an audience that was considered like very incredibly healthy, right? A wellness-based audience when you did the omega testing and found that they were still deficient. And I mean, I know I'm probably deficient and I need to take it. So I have been taking it here and there, but I'm still nursing. So getting on a consistent omega-3 regimen, and also what's important is the 3-to-6 ratio, right? And we didn't really get into that, but 6s are in a lot of processed oils and all sorts of things, even healthy things. Like, I mean, I know walnuts have a great ratio of 3-to-6, but most nuts, like even almonds, I drink almond milk every day. Like, isn't that high in omega-6?
I think it is. And omega-6s are in, or I guess like the standard American diet, which I doubt you follow, being quite health conscious, but the standard American diet is very high in omega-6s and very low in omega-3s. And the thing to know about omega-6 and 3 is that you need both. You need a balance of the two, but omega-6 is a pro-inflammatory fat, so it causes inflammation in the body. And again, you need a certain amount of inflammation in the body, but too much of it causes a lot of diseases and complications and generally not feeling very good. Omega-3s are anti-inflammatory, so they lower inflammation in the body. The ideal ratio is somewhere around 1-to-1 based on the recommendations of our health practitioner community. And the standard American diet can be upwards of 10-to-1, 6-to-3, or even as high as 20-to-1.
Wow.
So taking an omega-3 and incorporating more omega-3 through things like salmon or other types of fatty fish can help to bring that 6-to-3 ratio into better balance. And it's worth mentioning that among that really healthy audience, we were really quite surprised to find that those levels were what they were. And importantly, Ryan mentioned that 41% are chronically low, meaning that they may not even be getting enough omega-3 for their body to deliver enough to a baby if they were to get pregnant. But for the remaining 55% or so, the issue is that baby's probably going to get enough. Our bodies evolved such that we preferentially deliver nutrients to the baby through the placenta or through breast milk, oftentimes leaving the mom deficient. So for the vast majority of women, if you don't take a supplement, your baby's probably going to be okay. But you will likely suffer from deficiencies that can take years to manifest and years to correct,
Back
and
to
may
that
never be
postnatal,
really fully balanced without supplementation.
back to that sort of postnatal depletion and how
Yeah.
does mom recover most quickly. And I think it's actually kind of ironic that we were surprised by the results of the study. If you look back to our own selves of why would these women in some ways be different than us? We're yoga instructors and certified nutritionists, and yet we were so low. And testing again that same population, just like, I guess, surprisingly reconfirmed that we weren't alone.
Yeah. And so I'm really excited about the protein too, though, now, because choline is so important. I mean, everything's important, magnesium, choline, everything that's in there. But where's the choline coming from? Where is it derived from?
Yeah. So we are in the middle of actually finalizing our choline source. We're deciding between two different suppliers at the moment. And we are digging into all of their sourcing and ingredients. So we don't have a final decision there. Women,
And that's on the protein powder.
Yeah, like would it be like egg? I mean, eggs have choline in them.
eggs and liver are like the two best food sources of choline.
And then sunflower lecithin, but that's
Yes.
more like
And that's what's in our omega-3
okay, yeah.
product. And so it's a good source of choline. It's 55 milligrams per dosage per day, which is a great source. But studies show that women would benefit from taking up to 500 milligrams per day. So although it's a good source and it's more than most prenatals have, our prenatal will have an added source of choline to give you all that you need.
Yeah.
So that if you took the two together, you'd really be optimally set up.
That makes
You'll
sense.
get the 555, which is the
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 optimal.
optimal
Yeah.
right now. And yeah, I think so. That is one of the things that we are doing, though, is digging in with every supplier and doing a pretty rigorous review of where do they source and what does production look like and what are their standards for each ingredient. So we are in the final stages of that process, but it's where we can't totally answer your question right now. But I do want to make one point is there is this sort of trade-off from that we talked about a little bit with regard to algae of using food-based ingredients or using mindfully made ingredients. And we do have sort of a balance of both in our prenatal. And again, sort of our algae is an example of something that is mindfully made in a controlled processes in kind of fermentation tanks here in the US versus sourcing it in the ocean. You could end up having the trade-offs of heavy metal and toxin exposure that we are seeing again and again. And a lot of herbals and food-based things. Our lecithin is grown wild in Europe. So there is sort of a balance to each. And we do sort of take that balance with every ingredient. Is the food-based the better alternative? Or do we want to look through sort of a mindfully made ingredient that is made from a lab? But the thing to be careful from is really making sure it's made in a way that is similar to the natural processes, and it is a nutrient that is found in nature versus man-made substances that are in a lot of other prenatals.
Right. A good example, just to put a little context on like a man-made nutrient form, would be folic acid. So it's a synthetic version of folate, which is the natural food-based version. And much of the research now suggests folate is the preferred form. So in that example, we're going to be using a folate, the natural form, not a folic acid. But that level of rigor and research applies to every single ingredient in our prenatal. And we've evaluated which direction to go with a group of our health practitioner partners. Because as Ryan mentioned, we really believe that the best solutions and the best answer lies at the intersection of many different paradigms. It's not just up to the two of us to determine what is best for women at this stage of life.
There's another just sort of good example to reiterate that in terms of sort of we are pursuing clinical research. We have 2 upcoming studies with a leading university researcher that we'll talk about made later this year. But in looking at proving something in multiple different contexts, we find incredibly important. Another very common ingredient in a lot of prenatals, and not to scare folks, but is a B vitamin called cyanocobalamin. And it's literally attached to a cyanide molecule.
It's a form of B12.
Oh my
that
gosh.
many will say it's never been proven to be harmful, but it's only found when you smoke too much and you have excess cyanide in your body. So I think it is a little bit of the research is incredibly important, and we dig through all of these studies, but common sense also can be very important
Yeah.
in seeing things work in real life. That, anyways, just all of that should be pulled into context. And I think where we hope again and again, and we've mentioned this before, is just we are hoping to make sort of the scientific reason of why we pick different nutrients and go to the supplier that we did more accessible, so more people can feel sort of comfort and trust that they are getting the most nourishing solution with us.
I already feel it. I really do. Thank you so much for explaining all that and for doing this, because not only everything you just talked about, I mean, it's so important, but also people care about the taste, like we were just saying. So then not only are you caring about all the ingredients and where it's coming from and all that, but when we discuss choline and if it's coming from eggs or liver, and then we're also talking about taste, and really the end result is you want people to take the product
Absolutely.
to enjoy it every day, so that they actually take it, so that it actually benefits their life. I mean, it's a lot of work and it's not easy. And I just want to say thank you for setting out to do this and for caring about women, because there aren't that many businesses out there, and more popping up, but it's still not enough, and not a lot that are as transparent. So I just really appreciate what you guys are doing. I'm so excited about the future of Needed, and I love having you here. So thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us, and really a pleasure to get to explain our story.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.